There is a tide of wealth moving invisibly in your direction, not tomorrow, not in some distant future. Now, you are not meant to chase it. You are not meant to beg for it. You are simply meant to open yourself to it. You were never poor. You were never separate from the abundance you seek. You simply fell asleep to your true identity. You believed the outer world to be master when all along you were the cause, the architect, the source. Wealth is not something you earn with sweat alone. It is something you allow with belief. It is drawn to you not by hustle, but by assumption, by becoming the one who knows. It is already theirs. Pause for a moment. Close your eyes. Can you feel it? Not the money in your hand, but the state of being wealthy? The calm assurance, the ease, the peace, the generosity. That feeling is not a dream. It is your key. It is the proof that you already possess what you seek. You are not becoming rich. You are remembering your wealth. And now it is moving toward you. Rapidly, silently, powerfully. But you must stay open. Open to possibility. Open to receiving. Open to the strange timing of miracles that defy logic. Let go of needing to control it. Let go of looking for signs. Stop checking your bank account to affirm what you already know in spirit. Do not doubt the seed just because you cannot yet see the tree. If you saw how much was on its way to you, you'd never doubt again. Massive wealth is not earned through trying, it is received through becoming. So today, become the one who is already rich. Walk differently, think differently, respond differently. Not because you fake it, but because you've awakened to your truth. Speak not of one day, but of now. Not speak as one in need. Speak as one who has. You don't need the world to give you permission. You need only your own conviction. The truth is this: wealth is not waiting for the perfect moment. It is waiting for the perfect belief. The moment you stop looking and start being. So stay open, not to effort, but to ease. Stay open, not to doubt, but to divine timing. Stay open, because massive wealth is moving toward you and nothing can stop it now. It's already yours. Wealth does not respond to toil alone. It is not summoned by the frantic efforts of the outer world, but by the subtle yet powerful movement that begins within. It is a great illusion to believe that money, opportunities, or success come first and then create a sense of abundance. In truth, the feeling of abundance must come first, and all else will follow. What you see with your eyes is a reflection of what you have accepted in consciousness. Every external condition is born from an internal assumption. The outer world is only a mirror reflecting back the state of being you've chosen, whether knowingly or unknowingly. You do not attract wealth by constantly struggling for it, nor by trying to force outcomes through willpower. You attract wealth when you internally accept yourself as already wealthy, already secure, already abundant. That inner shift, that invisible movement, is what causes the external world to rearrange itself to match your inner state. This is not about pretending. It is about believing, about knowing. It is the quiet inner conviction that you already have all that you desire, not out of ego, but out of alignment with your true self. And once this belief settles into your consciousness, the world begins to conform. You may not see it instantly. The outer world often moves on a delay. But the moment you claim wealth in your inner world, the process begins. You start walking differently, thinking differently, making decisions not out of fear, but from a sense of sufficiency. You no longer move with the energy of lack. You move with the energy of I already have. And that frequency is magnetic. It draws to you circumstances, people, and events that align with the wealth you've accepted within. It is not enough to work harder. Many people work hard and remain in lack. But when you align, when you become the person who no longer needs to chase wealth because you've already embodied it, you activate the law of correspondence. As within, so without. This is why your inner conversations matter. What are you saying to yourself when no one else is listening? Do you see yourself as struggling, as waiting, as someone who is lacking? Or do you see yourself as fulfilled, provided for, and supported? That inner dialogue becomes the blueprint for what the outer world will reflect. To imagine yourself as already wealthy is not delusion, it is creation. Imagination is the first act of manifestation. The images you hold within, the emotions you stir up when you think of your future, they are not meaningless. They are seeds. And when you nourish those seeds with belief, they bloom. You are not required to know how it will happen. Your task is not to manage the outer details. Your task is to become aligned, to assume the state, to embody the feeling. The movement that matters is not out there in the world. It is the inner movement, quiet, invisible, powerful. It is the decision to stop waiting and start claiming. And once you make that shift, you'll begin to notice the world shift around you as if it had no choice, because it doesn't. The outer must obey the inner, always. Wealth does not resist the one who is open to receive it. It does not bypass the expectant soul. It is drawn without effort to the mind that welcomes it without fear, without hesitation, and without the constant noise of doubt. The truth is, wealth flows where it is invited, not with force but with stillness, not with striving but with surrender. When the mind releases the tension of needing and steps into the calm assurance of having, the current of abundance flows easily and naturally. There is no need to beg life for what you desire. That kind of desperate energy creates walls where there should be windows. What you must do is open. You must remain soft to the idea that the universe is generous, not stingy. That what you desire is not far away, but already yours in another form. And your only task is to be ready. Ready in mind, ready in feeling, ready in imagination. The expectant mind is not arrogant, it is confident. It is not reckless, it is anchored. It rests in the knowing that life responds to belief, not to begging. And it is this expectancy that becomes the fertile ground for wealth to appear. Most people live in a state of resistance. They want wealth, but they speak of lack. They hope for abundance, but they expect delay, and so their inner contradiction becomes their outer experience. But the one who is truly open, truly expectant, has no contradiction. Their thoughts, feelings, and assumptions all point in one direction. It is done. Expectancy is not passive, it is powerful. It is the inner agreement with the unseen. It is the invisible signature that says, I trust that what I desire is on the way. It is an act of faith, not in chance, but in certainty. The universe is always ready to give, but are you ready to receive? To be open means you are no longer defining your reality by your senses. You are no longer needing physical evidence before you believe. Instead, you allow your belief to lead, knowing the evidence will follow. This is the difference between waiting in fear and waiting in faith. The former repels, the latter attracts. When you are open, your posture changes. You stop asking when and begin affirming now. You speak with gratitude before you see the manifestation. You smile at the invisible flow. You stop looking around for proof, and instead you become the proof. by the way you carry yourself, by the way you speak, by the way you feel in silence. Stay open, stay expectant, not once, not sometimes, but as a way of being. Make it your natural state. Let expectancy be your resting place, not your emergency prayer. The universe recognizes consistency, and it rewards those who stay aligned when nothing has yet appeared. Remember, wealth does not come because you chase it. It comes because you are ready. You have made space. You have said yes, not just with your words, but with your entire being. Your openness is your magnet. Your belief is the signal. And the more you expect, the more you receive, not as a reward, but as a reflection. You are not separate from the wealth you seek. You are not a beggar standing outside the gates of abundance hoping to be let in. You are the gate. You are the source. The idea that something or someone outside of you holds the key to your prosperity is the great illusion, a distraction from the truth that everything you desire already lives within you. Any place older than this innate capability already lives within you. The riches of life are not earned by reaching, but by recognizing. You are not required to chase wealth, but to awaken to it. There is a well of abundance already present within your consciousness, waiting for you to draw from it. But if you look outward at the economy, at your bank account, at the opinions of others, you will miss the origin of it all. Your own state of being. Your own wealth begins with awareness. When you become aware of yourself as the source, everything begins to shift. You stop trying to take. You stop waiting for permission. You stop hoping the outer world will change. Instead, you become the change. You generate wealth through your thoughts, your beliefs, your assumptions, and the world cannot help but mirror it back. This is not theory, it is law. The outer world is only ever a reflection of the inner world. When you believe you are poor, struggling, or unworthy, life reflects those assumptions, not to punish you, but to remain consistent with your dominant inner state. But when you shift, when you begin to feel, speak, and live from the identity of someone who is already wealthy, already secure, already provided for, the world around you begins to echo that truth. You are not waiting for the universe to give. The universe is responding to who you believe you are. This is why so many people work endlessly yet remain in lack, because their actions do not override their self-concept. Their efforts are driven by fear, not by faith. But the one who recognizes themselves as the source doesn't need to prove anything. They simply align with the wealth within, and everything else follows. Think about it. When you see yourself as the source, you stop needing validation. You stop needing reassurance. You stop needing the world to show you results before you feel successful. You lead with the feeling. You command the atmosphere. You carry the vibration of fulfillment wherever you go. And wealth, whether in the form of money, opportunities, or relationships, gravitates toward that energy. You are not lacking. You are not missing anything. The treasure was never buried outside of you. It has always been hidden in plain sight, in your awareness, your imagination, your self-concept. The moment you stop seeking and start claiming, everything begins to unlock. Do not underestimate the power of your inner world. It is the original source of all creation. What you hold in consciousness is more powerful than any action you can take. When you truly see yourself as the source, you stop reacting and start creating. You move from survival to sovereignty. And in that shift, wealth no longer becomes something you try to get. It becomes something you naturally express, not from effort, but from essence. Because wealth is not a destination. It is who you are. The key to unlocking wealth is not effort, not struggle, and not time. It is feeling. Feeling is the secret passage that connects the invisible with the visible, the imagined with the actual, the desire with the manifestation. You cannot bypass this inner gateway. If you want to experience a life of wealth and abundance, you must first enter the emotional state where that life is already real. This is not about pretending or playing make-believe. It is not a game of fantasy or wishful thinking. It is about cultivating a genuine living conviction that what you desire is already yours. The feeling of wealth must become so natural to you, so familiar that you no longer question it. You must learn to walk through your day, not as someone hoping to become wealthy, but as someone who has already stepped into the reality of abundance. Your emotions are not accidental, they are not secondary, they are creative forces. When you feel something deeply and consistently, you impress that feeling upon your subconscious, and your subconscious in turn goes to work to shape the outer world in harmony with it. The universe does not respond to your words alone, it responds to your emotional frequency. What you feel with intensity and persistence becomes your life. So the invitation is simple, yet profound. Feel wealthy now, not someday, not when your bank account changes, now. Feel the peace that comes with knowing all your needs are met. Feel the joy of generosity, the calm of financial security, the freedom of limitless choices. Don't wait for something to happen in the outer world before you allow yourself to feel these things. Let the feeling come first. This is how the outer world is transformed, not by force, but by resonance. When you occupy the inner tone of wealth, the mood, the mindset, the energy of abundance, the world around you must shift to reflect it. It has no choice. The law is simple, like attracts like. The frequency you live in determines the experiences you draw in. Speak from the state, move from the state. Rest in the state. Ask yourself throughout the day, if I were already wealthy, how would I speak right now? How would I respond? What decisions would I make? Then do that. Let your inner world lead and watch as the outer world follows. There is no limit to what you can create as long as you feel it first. That's the key so many miss. They try to act rich without feeling rich, or they try to visualize success while secretly doubting it, but doubt creates delay. Conviction creates manifestation. Feeling is not passive. It is the command to the universe. It is the language of creation. When you feel something with certainty, you are declaring, this is who I am. This is what is real to me. And the universe responds not to who you think you are, but to who you feel you are. So feel it now, not just for a moment, but as a permanent state. Make wealth your emotional home. Live in that atmosphere. And as you do, your reality will transform to match the tone of your being. Because feeling is the secret passage, and you hold the key. Resistance is the invisible barrier that blocks the very thing you desire from reaching you. It is not always loud or obvious. Often it hides behind effort, behind striving, behind endless attempts to control outcomes. But make no mistake, whenever you are chasing, you are also declaring that what you want is not here. And that very declaration becomes the wall that keeps it away. To chase is to affirm separation. It is to say, I do not have it. And no matter how hard you try or how noble your intentions, the energy of lack speaks louder than your actions. You cannot fight for abundance from the belief that you are poor. You cannot work for peace from a place of inner conflict. Your energy must match your desire. And that energy comes not from pursuit, but from presence. When you strive, you may be trying to succeed, but your striving often carries within it a silent confession, I don't believe it's already mine. And so the universe, always listening to your frequency, mirrors that uncertainty back to you. But the moment you become still, something changes. Stillness is not inactivity. Stillness is inner alignment. It is the moment you stop chasing and start claiming. You no longer speak from lack. You speak from fulfillment. You don't ask with desperation, you assume with confidence. You know that what is yours cannot miss you. You become the wealthy one, not because of what's in your bank account, but because of what's in your belief. And in that inner transformation, resistance melts. You are no longer trying to force outcomes. You are allowing them to unfold. You've moved from struggle to surrender, from effort to embodiment. This is when the flow begins. Prosperity does not arrive through force. It arrives through faith. Not blind faith, but embodied faith. The kind that breathes through your actions, your tone, your thoughts. It's not about doing more. It's about becoming more. Becoming more aligned, more centered, more trusting. When you are confident in your identity as the wealthy one, you no longer need to prove anything. You do not need to announce it, argue for it, or seek constant validation. You are simply it. And that identity becomes a channel, a wide open passage through which all good things must flow. Think of it this way. The river doesn't force the water forward, it allows it. The path is already there. When you drop resistance, you become that path. You stop damming the flow with doubt, with fear, with control. And in that surrendered state, you discover that the wealth was always trying to reach you. You just had to stop standing in its way. So don't chase, don't strive from a place of fear. Instead, sit in the knowing, walk in the trust, move from the truth of who you already are. You are the wealthy one now, not tomorrow, not later, now. Feel it, own it, be still, and let the current of abundance flow through you, unrestricted and undeniable. That's how wealth arrives, not by force, but through your openness and unwavering certainty. There is a force already working in your favor, though your eyes may not yet see the results. Just because your senses are silent does not mean nothing is happening. The invisible hand is already moving, quietly, precisely, powerfully. The seeds you have planted in thought, in feeling, and in belief are taking root. You may not see the sprout above the ground, but beneath the surface, life is unfolding. You must learn to trust beyond what you can touch. Do not let appearances fool you. The outer world often takes time to catch up with what has already been created in the inner world. The moment you assumed the feeling of wealth, you initiated the process. The universe responded, not to your words, but to your state of being. And now, everything is shifting to reflect that new reality. But here's the challenge. Most people give up too soon. They look around and see no change, and so they declare that nothing is working. But in doing so, they interrupt the flow. They uproot the seed. They declare failure where only faith was needed. What they don't realize is that the process had already begun and would have been completed if they had only trusted. You must stay open. You must remain in the posture of receiving even when there is no visible proof. That is what separates those who manifest abundance from those who only wish for it. The ones who succeed are the ones who trust the unseen process. They do not waver just because the evidence is delayed. They know that delay is not denial, it's simply alignment in motion. Massive wealth is not created by what you do once. It's created by what you believe consistently. It's not a question of working harder or forcing results or trying to make things happen by sheer will. It is about aligning yourself with the energy of abundance and then maintaining that alignment regardless of outer conditions. Think of yourself as a magnet. Your belief draws wealth to you. But if you keep changing your magnetic field, one day believing, the next day doubting, you confuse the flow. Stability is power. Confidence, even in silence, is magnetic. So prepare to receive even before it arrives. Begin to live in the reality of the outcome, not in the waiting room of someday. Clean the space in your life mentally and emotionally for the abundance that's already on its way. Speak from the place of already done. Walk as if it's already yours. Because in truth, it is. It's just catching up to your time. The unseen is not the unreal. The invisible hand is working tirelessly on your behalf, orchestrating details you couldn't plan if you tried. People, opportunities, and circumstances are moving right now to meet you at the point of your belief. Do not measure progress by sight, measure it by your inner knowing, and let that knowing be so strong, so steady that nothing can shake it. The wealth is coming, the shift has already begun, and all that's required of you now is trust. Stay in the feeling, stay open, and watch what unfolds. You are not waiting for wealth. Wealth is already waiting for you. It is not your effort that unlocks the flow of abundance, but your alignment. You are the source, the magnet, the channel through which prosperity enters your world. When you stop chasing, doubting, and resisting, and instead become still in your knowing, wealth must come. The moment you feel it, believe it, and live from it, the world begins to shift. Stay open, stay expectant, and trust the invisible hand that is already moving. The wealth you seek is not on the way. It is already here, preparing to reveal itself in your reality. Thank you for listening, for believing, and for becoming. Your transformation has already begun. There is a sacred truth that too many forget when they are in pain, in waiting, or in silence. God is not done. What you're walking through today is not a sign of an ending. It is a signal, a sacred whisper, that the greatest part of your story has yet to unfold. Life may look still, the world around you may seem quiet, but in the invisible everything is shifting. There are unseen hands working on your behalf. What you call delay is only preparation. Let me tell you something that may shock you. You are not waiting on God. God is waiting on you. Waiting on you to believe again, to imagine again, to speak life over yourself even when everything feels lifeless. The greatest miracles do not come when you beg. They come when you believe. Not halfway, not conditionally, but completely, as though what you asked for is already here. You say, I've been broken, but have you forgotten? Every breakdown is the seed of your breakthrough. You say, I feel lost, yet you are never lost in the eyes of the divine. You are simply being rerouted to a higher outcome. There is something extraordinary waiting on the other side of your persistence. But it cannot come through struggle, it comes through alignment. Stop speaking the language of limitation. Start speaking from the end. Say to yourself, this chapter is not the end. This pain is not the whole story. Something sacred is coming. Something unstoppable is being written in my name. The best part of your story is not in your past. It is not in what you lost. It is not in what was taken. It is in what you are about to receive. And what you are about to receive will not make sense to the version of you that almost gave up. That version must die, so the real you can rise. The version who begs must become the version who embodies. The version who doubts must become the version who declares. The version who fears must become the version who knows. Because when you know, truly know, that the best is next, you stop chasing and start claiming. Walk as if the door is already open. Speak as if the promise is already fulfilled. Rest as if you've already arrived. And you will find that God never forgot you. He was simply preparing a scene so good, so divine, so unmistakably perfect that only the future you would be ready for it. So let this be your declaration. God's not done with me. My story is still unfolding. And the next part, the part I'm stepping into, will be the best I've ever lived. Because you are not falling apart. You are being put together for something higher. And the best part, you don't even have to chase it. You just have to become it. God's not done. The next chapter will prove why the wait was worth it. Do not judge your life by what you see today. The visible world, this tangible realm, is not the full truth. It is simply a mirror, reflecting old beliefs, former assumptions, and previous inner conversations. What you see now is not a prophecy, it is history. It is the echo of your former state of mind, a shadow of what you once believed to be true. And so, if your current reality appears dark, stagnant, or full of lack, do not panic. Do not mourn what is showing up now. Because this is not the conclusion. This is not the ending of your story. It is merely a transitional scene between who you were and who you are becoming. You must understand, life flows from within out. Circumstances arise out of consciousness. When you believed in lack, lack appeared. When you felt abandoned, abandonment showed up. But that was then. And now, you have chosen differently. You are beginning to assume the state of fulfillment. You are starting to walk in the awareness of abundance, wholeness, and purpose. And as surely as day follows night, what you have assumed within must now appear without. But here's the part most overlooked. There is always a delay between planting and harvest. There is a secret space between assumption and appearance. That delay is not denial, it is divine orchestration. It is the universe reassembling itself to reflect your new state of being. So if things still look the same, be still. Stay grounded. Hold your new assumption with faith and persistence. Because what's unfolding right now is not the final act. It's the middle scene. A bridge of events that will lead you from what was to what you have accepted as already yours. Do not make the mistake of judging the journey before the promise is delivered. A construction site always looks chaotic before the masterpiece is revealed. And so does life when transformation is underway. Hold fast, speak from the end, imagine from the outcome, live as if it's done. Because your current circumstance is not your conclusion, it is not your label, it is not your truth. It is only the temporary residue of the past. And once you stop reacting to it and start living from your new assumption, everything will change quietly, powerfully, completely. Creation does not begin with effort. It begins with imagination. Pure, bold, unquestioning vision. Long before anything materializes in the world of form, it is born in the unseen. The real beginning of all things is not in action, but in the invisible world of thought and belief. That is the realm where all power rests. Imagination is not daydreaming. It is the divine blueprint, the invisible seed from which your future grows. When you dare to imagine something greater, something beyond your current reality, you are not escaping life, you are rewriting it. You are stepping into the spiritual workshop where all things are crafted before they become visible. The moment you believe in the unseen, truly believe, not with words but with feeling, the universe responds. It begins to rearrange circumstances, shift relationships, open doors, close others, and guide events in ways your physical senses cannot yet comprehend. You do not need to push, chase, or strive. You only need to see, not with your eyes but with your inner vision, the eye of faith. God does not respond to desperation, He responds to alignment. Faith is the evidence of things not seen, and imagination is how that evidence is formed. The world around you bends not to effort, but to assumption. The secret is not in doing more, it's in assuming more boldly. When you dwell on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you close your eyes and live from the end, something miraculous happens. What you see in the spirit begins to take shape in the world. The external world, being only a shadow, must conform to the light within. It has no choice. God's next move is not waiting for your work. It's waiting for your belief. He moves where your faith leads. And faith is simply sustained imagination, dwelling so deeply in your vision that it becomes more real to you than what your senses report. If you want to know what is coming next in your life, look to your imagination. That is the preview of your next chapter. Guard it, feed it, honor it. Because what you imagine with conviction, you invite with power. What you believe in the silence, God brings into the light. You are not waiting on God. God is waiting on you. We often speak of divine timing as if it were some distant clock slowly ticking toward our breakthrough. But divine timing is not measured in hours or days, it is measured in alignment. The moment your inner state matches the reality you desire, things move quickly, naturally, powerfully. You see, the delay you perceive is not in God's hands. It is in your own heart. God has already said yes to the version of you that is whole, abundant, healed, and fulfilled. But if you continue to identify as broken, lacking, or unworthy, you remain out of sync with what has already been prepared. Life doesn't bring you what you beg for. It brings you what you believe yourself to be. When you shift your self-concept, everything shifts. You are not waiting for a new reality to appear. You are waiting to become the person who lives in it. That transformation does not take time. It takes decision. It takes the courage to let go of the old story and embody the new one fully, without apology or hesitation. God responds to movement, not outer movement, but inner conviction. When you dare to feel the truth of your desire as if it were already fulfilled, you step into alignment. And in that state, doors open, paths appear, and what you once called coincidence becomes divine choreography. This is why you must stop looking to the sky for a sign and start looking within. The answer isn't coming, it's already here. But you must be in the state to receive it. Waiting is a posture of passivity. Alignment is a posture of power. When you walk in the knowing that it is done, the world rearranges itself to reflect that knowing. Do not ask, when will it happen? Ask instead, am I being the version of me who already has it? Because when you answer yes to that question, not with words, but with identity, you move into harmony with divine timing. And then suddenly, everything accelerates. So remember this. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not forgotten. You're simply being invited to become, and the moment you do, the next and best part of your story begins to unfold. Effortlessly, gracefully, and right on time. The best part of your life isn't waiting for you in some distant future. It already exists. Right now, in the invisible realm of consciousness, everything you desire has already been created. You are not manifesting something brand new. You are choosing from what already is. The moment you grasp this, life changes. Because you realize you're not building your future with effort, you're aligning with it through belief. There is only one moment now, and within this eternal now, every version of your life exists. The life where you're whole, abundant, deeply loved, successful. It is not a fantasy or a wish. It is a reality, already formed, simply awaiting your recognition. You do not create it by striving. You bring it into your experience by selecting it through your state of being. What you call the future is simply the unfolding of the state you are dwelling in today. If you continue to live from lack, worry, or doubt, you remain aligned with a version of reality that reflects those states. But when you dare to assume that it's already done, that what you desire is already yours, you shift timelines. You move into alignment with a version of life where it has already happened. This is why faith is so powerful, not because it changes God's mind, but because it changes your position. It places you in harmony with what has always been available to you. You begin to see what you previously could not, simply because you believe it's there. And the moment you live as though it were true, the invisible becomes visible. You don't need proof to begin, you need conviction. Because the world doesn't show you what's real, it shows you what you've accepted as real. The outer world is always catching up to your inner world. So if you want to see a different outcome, start by choosing a different assumption. Walk, talk, and feel as if the best part of your story has already unfolded. Let go of the waiting. Let go of the hoping. Step into knowing. Because your future is not coming from the outside. It is already alive in the unseen, and it will rush into form the moment you agree with it in spirit. The best part of your life is already here, and it's yours the moment you dare to live from it. Every breakdown you've experienced wasn't the end. It was the beginning. What felt like collapse was actually construction in disguise. When the walls fell, when the doors closed, when people left, it wasn't destruction, it was alignment. Life was removing what no longer fit. Where you going? And though you may have called it loss, heaven called it preparation. Nothing is ever truly lost. The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped away, none of it was meant to break you. It was meant to break open the parts of you still clinging to the lesser when the greater was already written. God never subtracts without the intention to multiply. He never removes without the plan to replace with something more suited, more divine, more expansive. You see, the mind grieves what it can no longer see, but the spirit rejoices in what it knows is coming. When something leaves your life, instead of mourning it as the end, recognize it as a sacred clearing. Just as a farmer must till the ground and remove the weeds before planting fresh seed, so too must your life be cleared of old energies, attachments, and patterns that cannot carry the weight of your next blessing. Evil breakdown was a setup for breakthrough, not by accident but by divine orchestration. The moments that hurt the most often held the greatest lessons and the deepest transformation. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. Life was rearranging itself to make room for the version of you that's been waiting to emerge. So trust the tearing down, trust the release, trust the silence, the space, the unanswered prayers. They are not signs of abandonment, but signs of deeper preparation. The blessing that's meant for you is too big to fit in the old container. The new wine must be poured into new wineskins. The new life must rest upon a new foundation. You didn't lose. You were lifted. You weren't left behind, you were led forward. And what's ahead of you is not compensation, it's elevation. What's coming next will not only heal what broke you, but show you why it had to happen. So hold your head high. The breakdown was not your defeat. It was the prelude to your divine breakthrough. You are not just playing a role in your life, you are writing the script with every thought you accept, every word you speak, and every emotion you dwell in. Life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. And while others may appear on your stage, no one else is holding the pen. You are both the author and the actor, creating the scenes that unfold before you. If you don't like the way the story is going, don't wait for someone to change the plot. Change the narrator within. It's your inner dialogue, the words you repeat to yourself in silence, that determines the direction of your life. Every belief you hold becomes a line in your script. Every assumption you make becomes a scene played out in time. Too many people try to change their life without changing the story they're telling themselves. They chase new results while carrying the same old narrative. But it doesn't work that way. You cannot live a victorious life with a defeated mindset. You cannot step into a better chapter if you're still reciting lines from your past. The moment you begin to say the best is next with conviction, not as a wish but as a fact, you start turning the page. You start creating new chapters where possibility replaces limitation, where faith replaces fear, and where clarity replaces confusion. Your words are not just expressions, they are instructions to the universe, to your subconscious, and to the unseen forces that shape your world. Every great transformation begins with a change in dialogue. Speak differently, think differently, feel differently. Because when you assume the role of someone whose best days are ahead, you activate the script that matches that state. You become the person who naturally attracts experiences that align with a better story. You are not a victim of the narrative, you are the one telling it. And just like any great author, you have the power to revise, reframe, and rewrite at any moment. The old chapter may be filled with pain, but it does not define the ending. The pen is still in your hand. So write boldly, act courageously, and never forget, you are the story, the storyteller, and a stage upon which the next miracle will unfold. So if life feels uncertain, if the road seems unclear, remember this: God is not done. What you see today is not the end, it's the unfolding. Your current reality is not your final destination. It is only a reflection of yesterday's thoughts. But today you have the power to choose again, to imagine again. You are not waiting on permission, on timing, or on people. You are aligning with the truth that the best part of your story is not behind you, it's ahead of you, already existing in the invisible, waiting for you to become the version of yourself that receives it. Hold your vision, speak your new script, trust your unseen future, and walk in the quiet, unshakable knowing that every breakdown, every delay, and every detour was preparing you for what's next. Because what's next is better than what's been. Your best is not coming. Your best is here, because now you are ready for it. Thank you for listening. Keep believing, keep becoming, and never forget, the best part of your story is next. There is a sacred law behind your hardship. The deeper the night, the closer the dawn. The greater your struggle, the greater your soul is preparing to rise. What you are facing is not a mistake. It is an invitation. Life is not happening to you, it is happening through you and for you. The pressure you feel is not breaking you, it is making you. Everything you call a struggle is simply life showing you what you still believe about yourself. It's showing you where you have assumed weakness, where you have accepted limitation, where you have not yet claimed your divine power. The struggle only exists because you have not yet imagined yourself beyond it. The moment you assume it is finished, the moment you dwell in the state of freedom, the path begins to open. You see, reality bends to your inner acceptance, not to your effort, not to your force, but to your inner assumption. If you walk around believing your struggle defines you, you create a loop of delay. But the moment you rise and assume the end, you command reality to reorganize. And it does. There is no mountain you must climb, no problem you must solve. There is only a version of you that already exists, free, whole, fulfilled, and you must align with that version now. Close your eyes. Feel the end, not the process, not the question, not the waiting, just the end. Feel what it's like to have the thing you've cried for. Feel what it's like to know it's yours. Breathe there. Live there. And when you open your eyes, walk like it's done. You may still see shadows of struggle. Don't be fooled. That's just the echo of your old state. You have shifted. Reality is catching up. Let the pain be the proof that something bigger is coming. Let the resistance remind you how powerful you truly are. Don't curse the struggle. Bless it. It's lifting you. Because the truth is simple. The bigger the struggle, the bigger the breakthrough. And the breakthrough is already yours. Struggles are not punishments. They are sacred preparations. Life is not withholding from you. It is readying you. Every hardship you endure, every obstacle that rises in your path, every moment where it feels like everything is against you, it is all part of a deeper unfolding. The magnitude of your struggle is not a sign of failure or disfavor, but a divine measurement of the blessing that is forming behind the veil. You are not being abandoned. You are being expanded. When something extraordinary is coming, it requires a vessel strong enough, wide enough, deep enough to carry it. And you, in your current form, may not yet be ready to hold what you have asked for. So life begins to shape you. It bends you. It tests your foundation. The weight you feel pressing against you is not there to crush you, but to stretch you. To stretch your faith, your patience, your vision, your endurance. Is asking, can you hold more than you've ever held before? And that's what struggle really is. It's the invisible hands of transformation molding you into someone greater, into someone who no longer reacts with fear but responds with clarity, someone who no longer doubts their worth but walks with unshakable inner knowing, someone who no longer looks for evidence outside but feels the truth of it within. Most people misread struggle as punishment. They say, why me? Why now? What did I do wrong? But that is the illusion. You did not do something wrong, you did something right. You dared to dream, you dared to ask for more, you dared to believe there's something beyond the life you've been living, and because of that, life is responding. The storm isn't a rejection, it's a recalibration. The chaos isn't confusion, it's construction. You are not the victim of your external conditions. You are the creator of a new internal state. As you hold a new self-concept, a new belief, a new vision, your reality begins to shift in response. But before it can bloom, the old must be dismantled. And that dismantling doesn't always feel pretty. It feels like loss. It feels like fear. It feels like things falling apart. But remember, what feels like falling apart is often just a higher order coming together. When you feel like everything is being stripped from you, understand this. You are not being punished. You are being prepared to hold something far greater than you could have imagined. The vessel of your life is being expanded to hold a deeper peace, a bigger love, a higher abundance. So don't curse your struggle. Don't run from it. Don't resent it. Honor it. Walk through it with your head high. Let it do its holy work in you. For what awaits on the other side is not just a blessing. It is the version of you who is always meant to receive it. You are not meant to run from the storm. You are not here to escape the difficulty, to find a way around it, or to wait for it to pass so you can breathe again. You are meant to go through it, not as a victim, but as a creator discovering their strength. The purpose of the storm is not to harm you, but to awaken you. It is not your enemy, it is your teacher. So many spend their lives trying to avoid discomfort, trying to shield themselves from the messiness of transformation. But the truth is, transformation is rarely gentle. It arrives like a wind that overturns everything that is small, false, or fragile within you. The storm comes to strip away what you no longer need, the outdated beliefs, the borrowed identities, the illusions you've carried for far too long. And in the middle of that chaos, something holy begins to emerge. A deeper part of you wakes up, a part of you that does not collapse under pressure, but rises because of it. You stop trying to change the outer world and instead shift your inner state. You no longer beg for peace. You become it. You become the calm in the eye of the storm. This is the secret the world forgets. You are not meant to fight the storm. You are meant to still it by transforming yourself. You do not escape the pain by denying it. You transmute it by allowing it to show you where your power has been hidden. Every challenge, every dark night, every betrayal or setback is coded with the opportunity to remember who you truly are. The storm you are facing is not a sign that you are weak. It is the very evidence that you are ready to rise. It only feels unbearable because it is calling you to shed the layers of who you are not. It is calling you to remember that you are not your circumstances, not your mistakes, not your emotions. You are the observer, the chooser, the imaginer. You are the stillness beneath the waves, the light that never flickers, the essence that remains even when everything else falls away. So when the storm rages, don't run. Sit in the center of it and breathe. Let the winds tear away your doubt. Let the rain wash away your fear. Let the thunder echo the truth that was always within you, that you are unshakable when you choose to be, that your peace is not tied to conditions, but to the state you dwell in. You don't climb out of the storm by resisting it. You rise through it by becoming the presence that transforms it. You become the calm, not by waiting for everything to settle, but by choosing that stillness in the middle of it all. And when you do, you don't just survive the storm, you transcend it. And what once threatened to break you becomes the very thing that reveals your power. Pain is not the enemy, resistance is. When you fight what you feel, you become trapped by it. But when you fully allow yourself to feel, without judgment, without fear, without rushing to escape, you step into the secret doorway of transformation. The struggle is not something to overcome by force. It is something to pass through with feeling. And that feeling, when aligned with your desired end, becomes the key that unlocks a new reality. Most people resist pain because they believe it shouldn't be there. They see discomfort as a problem to fix, a signal that something is wrong. But what if pain was not wrong? What if it was a necessary fire, burning away everything that no longer serves your highest vision? What if feeling the pain fully was the very act that alchemizes it into power? You see, the path through struggle is not numbness. It is not denial. It is presence. When you bring your full awareness to the pain, when you meet it with love instead of resistance, it begins to shift. It no longer controls you. It becomes energy in motion. And in that motion, you can redirect it. This is where the secret lies. In the middle of the storm, you do not need to fix the outer world. You need only to feel the inner world differently. When you close your eyes, breathe deeply and assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Even while everything around you screams otherwise, you are stepping out of the known and into the creative. Struggle exists when your current state contradicts your inner desire. But when you feel from the desire already fulfilled, you collapse that contradiction. You bring the two into harmony. And that harmony creates movement. Movement not just inside, but outside. Life begins to mirror what you hold in consciousness, not what you beg for or stress over. You must stop asking, when will it end, and begin asking, what would I feel like if it were already done? That is the feeling that ends the struggle. That is the inner alignment that gives birth to the breakthrough. And this is not about pretending. It is about knowing. It is about touching the feeling so deeply that it becomes more real than your current circumstances. You carry the emotion of peace even when chaos surrounds you. You hold the vibration of abundance even when the bank account says lack. You feel loved even when you are alone. That kind of feeling is not fantasy. It is faith in action. It is the choice to live from the truth that all creation begins within. You do not feel after the change. You feel before it. And that feeling makes it inevitable. So when the pain arises, let it come. Do not run. Let it teach you. Let it burn through the layers of fear. And then, within that space of openness, fill it with the feeling of what you've been praying for. Dwell there, live there, and soon the struggle will dissolve, not because you forced it to, but because you no longer needed it to stay. The struggle you feel is not born from the world around you. It's born from what you have accepted within you. You are not fighting against people, conditions, or events. You are wrestling with your own assumptions, and those assumptions are shaping everything you see, feel, and experience. The outer world is not the source of your suffering. It is the mirror of your state. Every day you walk through a reality constructed by your inner beliefs. If you assume limitation, life gives you limits. If you assume rejection, you meet it in every interaction. If you assume delay, your desires seem to drift further out of reach. But the moment you change the assumption, the moment you decide something else is true, the struggle begins to dissolve. It's not the facts that bind you, it's your agreement with them. Most people are not aware they are assuming anything. They think they are just facing reality, but what is reality really? It is only a reflection of what has been accepted as true on the inside. It is the echo of yesterday's beliefs. And when you believe in struggle, when you assume that breakthrough is hard, that change takes time, that success is for someone else, life reflects that back to you perfectly. You must realize that your assumptions are not passive, they are creative, they are alive. They are the seeds from which your world grows. If you assume lack, it multiplies. If you assume abundance, it begins to show up in ways you never expected. The change begins not when things shift outwardly, but when you shift inwardly and hold firm to a new assumption, one that aligns with your highest vision. The struggle ends the moment you refuse to believe in it. You don't have to fight it. You simply have to assume something else is already true. The version of you who has already overcome it doesn't struggle. They don't worry. They don't wonder if it will happen. They rest in the certainty that it is done. When you rise in consciousness and say, I no longer accept this as my truth, you initiate a quiet revolution within. That inner shift sends out ripples that reorganize everything around you. You do not have to figure out how it changes. You only have to remain loyal to the new assumption. This is not about pretending or positive thinking. It is about spiritual law. As you assume, so shall it be. Hold to the assumption that you are already healed, already whole, already chosen, already blessed. And life must conform. The moment you wake up to this truth, the struggle begins to collapse like a dream when you open your eyes. You realize it was never the world that held you back. It was the story you kept repeating to yourself. Change the story. Change the assumption, and the struggle will vanish like mist in the morning light. Delay is not denial. It is divine orchestration. What seems like a pause, a blockage, or a detour is often the most sacred part of the journey. It is not a punishment or a rejection, it is timing in its highest form. There is a rhythm to your life, a spiritual clock that does not operate on your impatience, but on alignment, readiness, and transformation. When you ask for something, deeply, sincerely, life begins to shift. But what you often don't realize is that the answer isn't always immediate, because you are not always ready to receive it in full. And that's not a flaw in you, it's part of the process. You're becoming the version of yourself who can not only receive the blessing, but hold it, grow it, and carry the responsibility it brings. The delay is not empty. It's not a waiting room where nothing happens. It is the pressure of spiritual energy, building and aligning everything within and around you. That tension you feel, the restlessness, the doubt, the longing, is not a sign that it's not coming. It's a sign that it's near. You're being stretched, expanded, prepared. The ground beneath your feet is being strengthened for something bigger than you asked for. We often beg for speed, thinking fast is better, but the truth is, what comes too soon can collapse just as quickly. You may want the breakthrough, but life wants you to be anchored first. Because real manifestation isn't about the moment of arrival. It's about becoming the person who lives in that new reality without fear of losing it. You must shift from chasing outcomes to cultivating states. Ask yourself, am I becoming the one who would naturally live the life I desire? That is the real work. Not forcing change outwardly, but transforming inwardly. Delay is where this alchemy happens. The longer it takes, the more powerful it becomes, because you are growing into someone greater than you once imagined. Spiritual timing is precise. It is never early, it is never late. It is aligned with your becoming. And that means every moment of delay is not time wasted. It is evidence that something sacred is underway. You are not being denied, you are being developed. So stop looking outward for confirmation. Walk inward, strengthen your inner state, deepen your trust, anchor your identity in the end result, not in the current delay. Say to yourself, it is already done. I may not see it, but I know it. That knowing is what dissolves the illusion of delay. That knowing is what activates alignment. Alignment. Delay is only painful when you doubt its purpose. But when you trust it, you begin to see the hidden genius in the timing. You begin to feel grateful even in the waiting, because you know, deep down, that the longer it takes, the greater it will be. And when it arrives, it won't just meet your expectations, it will exceed them. Because you didn't settle. You aligned, you expanded, you trusted. And now the blessing is shaped not only for you, but by you. Breakthrough is not something that arrives from the outside, it is something that unfolds from within. And the paradox is this: the moment you stop desperately needing a breakthrough is the very moment it begins to appear. When you release the grasping, the craving, the pleading for things to shift, you enter into a space of true power. You are no longer driven by fear of lack. You are anchored in the knowing that what you seek is already yours. You see, many people live in a constant state of hoping, waiting, and striving. They chase outcomes, force timing, and beg the universe for change. But that very posture of lack, of desperation, of needing, is the thing that keeps the breakthrough at bay. Because needing implies you don't yet have. It affirms separation. It says, I am not yet the one who receives. And the world reflects that assumption perfectly. But when you drop the need and enter the state of fulfillment, everything shifts. You stop looking for signs because you already feel the truth. You stop measuring time because you are living from the end. You stop controlling the outer because you have mastered the inner. That is where breakthrough begins. Not in force, but in surrender. Not in chasing, but in being. The real breakthrough is you. It's the shift in consciousness, the internal alignment with the version of yourself that already has the thing you once longed for. You no longer need it to arrive, because you know it already exists in the unseen. You have assumed the identity of the one who has it, and that assumption moves mountains. Reality is obedient. It does not respond to begging. It responds to belief. When you walk as if it is already done, when you speak, think, and feel from that state, you collapse the distance between desire and manifestation. There is no delay when there is no doubt. This is not about giving up. It is about letting go of attachment. It is about stepping into a deeper trust, one that says, I no longer need proof. My feeling is the proof. My inner knowing is enough. That level of certainty magnetizes results. It draws them in not because you need them, but because you are already aligned with them. The moment you stop needing the breakthrough, you reveal your power. You stop being a seeker and you become a creator. You realize the outer world is a mirror, not a master. And as you change, it must follow. The breakthrough doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. It is born the instant you shift from waiting to knowing, from striving to being. Let that be your turning point. Don't chase what is already yours. Don't plead with what is already promised. Instead, stand still, close your eyes, and feel the joy of it fulfilled. Dwell there. Live from there. That's where the real breakthrough lives. And once you embody that state, the outer has no choice but to respond. The struggle you face is not a sign that you're failing. It's the evidence that something greater is unfolding through you. Each delay, each challenge, each moment of tension is preparing you, not punishing you. You are not here to escape the storm, but to become the calm within it. The breakthrough you seek is not out there waiting to arrive. It's already alive within you, waiting for your recognition. When you shift your assumptions, feel your desires as already fulfilled, and let go of the need for proof, the world must bend to match your inner state. The bigger the struggle, the bigger the breakthrough. Not because life is testing you, but because you are expanding to receive more than you imagined. The moment you stop chasing and start embodying, the breakthrough is no longer a possibility. It becomes inevitable. Sincere thanks. Thank you for listening with an open heart and a willing spirit. May these words awaken the strength, the peace, and the power that already live within you. Keep rising, keep trusting. The breakthrough is already yours. There comes a moment in every life when the external world looks fixed, when the doors appear closed and the mountain seems immovable. But I tell you, what you perceive as impossible is merely the boundary of your current assumption. And assumptions, no matter how deeply rooted, can be replaced. God, the creative power within you, is about to do what you thought could never be done. Not through struggle, not through force, but through a divine law that has always existed and is always working, the law of consciousness. You have been told to pray, to wait, to hope. But what if I told you that the thing you've been waiting for is already here, already yours, but hidden in the invisible realm of your imagination? For imagination is not a shadow or illusion. It is reality, unformed, waiting only for your belief to give it shape. The greatest mistake we make is believing that the facts around us are final. But facts are only echoes of former beliefs. They are not truth. They are not law. What you call impossible is simply a condition your senses cannot yet grasp. But that condition can shift instantly the moment you dare to assume that your desire is already fulfilled. God works through assumption, not empty wishing but conscious embodiment. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to unite with the divine force that makes all things new. What you feel in your soul becomes what you live in the world. If you feel broken, dare to feel whole. If you feel poor, dare to feel rich. If you feel forgotten, dare to feel chosen. Not because the world confirms it yet, but because you know your inner world writes the script of your outer experience. Stop asking how. Stop looking for signs. Stop waiting for approval. That's not how divine power moves. It moves through the one who knows, who feels the end and walks in it, even the while the world insists it's not yet real. I say to you now, it is done. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now, in the unseen. There is a shift taking place in your life, a door opening where there was only a wall, a healing where there was only pain, a way being made where there was no way. Because God does not bow to logic. God does not wait for permission. God responds to faith. The faith that moves from feeling, let them call it delusion, let them doubt you. That's not your business. Your business is to claim the promise. Your business is to know the truth before the evidence shows up. The impossible, it's already collapsing under the weight of your belief. So lift your head, speak boldly, walk differently, feel deeply, because God is about to do what they said couldn't be done. And when it happens, you won't even be surprised, because you saw it, you felt it, you knew. Imagination is not a fleeting fantasy or idle daydream. It is the divine spark, the very birthplace of all creation. Everything you have ever touched, seen, or experienced began first as a thought in the mind of someone who dared to believe in what was not yet visible. Before the house was built, the architect dreamed it. Before the song was sung, the melody was heard within. Before the journey was taken, the destination was imagined. This is not coincidence, it is law. What we call impossible is often just the boundary of someone's imagination. It's not a fact, but a belief. A wall that exists only in the mind. And that wall dissolves the moment you dare to imagine something beyond it. The moment you close your eyes and see differently, you begin to move the unseen forces that shape the visible world. Consciousness is the only reality. Your world is not a reflection of what you do, but of what you believe. And belief is made alive through imagination. When you imagine, you are not escaping reality, you are creating it. You are placing a seed into the soil of your inner world. And if you do not doubt it, that seed must grow. Most people use imagination against themselves. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They picture loss, lack, rejection, and pain. And what they fail to realize is that this misuse of imagination is still powerful. It still creates. It still moves. Because the power doesn't ask if you are imagining good or bad. It simply brings to life what you believe to be true. But the one who understands the gift of imagination begins to use it deliberately. They do not wait for the outer world to give permission to feel joy, love, wealth, or healing. They feel it now, inwardly, deeply. They imagine it so clearly that the body responds. Their emotions shift and the energy around them begins to transform. This is the beginning of miracles. When you imagine with intention, you enter into a sacred partnership with the divine. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but a conscious creator of experience. You move from reaction to creation, from fear to faith, from wishing to knowing. Nothing is withheld from the one who truly imagines, not because imagination changes the world, but because it changes you. It reshapes your assumptions, rewrites your identity, and aligns your vibration with that which you desire. And once you are aligned, the world must conform. There is no power out there that can block what is imagined in faith and felt in the heart. You may not know how, you may not see when, but when you persist in your inner vision, the outer must eventually bend. So do not underestimate the quiet power of closing your eyes and imagining something beautiful, something bold, something different from what is. That moment where you see it within is where the impossible begins to become real. What you assume to be true, though it may be invisible, improbable, or even irrational, begins to form the foundation of your reality. Assumption is not idle thought. It is not wishful thinking. It is a quiet conviction that something is, even if your senses say otherwise. And this assumption, once accepted, begins to shape everything around you. It becomes the silent blueprint from which your life unfolds. You walk, speak, and make decisions not based on what's happening, but based on what you believe to be true. And often this belief is unconscious. Many live in pain, limitation, and confusion because they assume, without questioning, that life is hard, that they are unworthy, or that nothing ever works out. These are not just thoughts. They are internal laws, constantly echoed back by the world outside. But here lies the great truth. You can choose what you assume. You can select the state of being you wish to occupy. And when you make a conscious assumption, such as, I am loved, I am successful, I am healed, you are not pretending. You are stepping into a deeper truth that already exists in the unseen. Everything you experience in life is a mirror, reflecting your inner assumptions. If you assume people will treat you with kindness, they often do. If you assume money will always be scarce, it seems to vanish. If you assume love is always painful, your relationships will reflect that pain. It's not magic, it's law. The outer is always shaped by the inner. The world responds not to what you want, but to what you believe. To assume something is to live as though it is already real. This is why assumption is so powerful. It bypasses the need for external proof. It does not ask for signs, evidence, or agreement. It simply is. And from this isness, a new reality begins to form. Even if your current situation contradicts your desired state, you do not argue with facts. You remain faithful to your assumption. You persist in the feeling that what you have imagined is already yours. And slowly, subtly, everything begins to shift. The people you meet, the opportunities that arise, the ideas that come to you, they all begin to align with the story you are telling yourself within. This is not about forcing or fixing. It's about dwelling in a state long enough for it to become natural. Once it feels normal to assume abundance, abundance appears. Once it feels true to assume peace, peace surrounds you. And once it feels inevitable that you are loved, love finds its way into every corner of your life. So the question is never, can this happen? The real question is, what am I assuming right now? Because that assumption, quiet, persistent, and deeply felt, is writing your future. Shift it, and everything changes. The world does not create you. Your assumption creates the world. When your desire seems distant, and nothing in the physical world appears to be moving, the mind begins to doubt. You question whether the dream was real, whether the vision was divine, whether what you felt so deeply was just imagination. But you must understand, the delay is not denial, the silence is not absence, the stillness is not a sign of failure. It is often the greatest sign that something profound is unfolding beyond the reach of your senses. There is an order to spiritual creation. Everything begins in the unseen, gestates in stillness, and emerges when the conditions are right. Just as a seed planted beneath the soil grows in darkness before it pierces the earth, so too does your desire develop invisibly before it becomes tangible. You cannot rush the bloom, and you cannot always see the roots. But if the seed was planted in faith, it will grow. Impatience is the enemy of manifestation. It tempts you to dig up the seed too soon, to speak words of doubt, to return to your old assumptions. But the one who knows the truth remains calm in the delay. They do not demand signs. They do not beg or plead. They rest in the knowing that what has been conceived in spirit must be born in time. The moment you assume your desire is already yours, unseen forces are set into motion. Circumstances begin to rearrange. People are shifted. Doors you don't yet know exist begin to open. It may not look like anything is happening, but that is only because the process is hidden from view. Just as you cannot see electricity moving through a wire but feel its effects, you may not see the miracle forming, but you will feel it, if you remain still enough. Many give up too soon. They assume the delay means denial, when in fact it's divine timing at work. The universe is not punishing you, it is preparing you. Sometimes the delay exists not because the desire isn't yours, but because the version of you that can hold it fully is still being shaped. You are being stretched in the delay. You are being strengthened. Your faith is being refined, your focus purified, your soul made ready. And when it arrives, you will understand that it came at the perfect moment. Not too soon, not too late, but right on time. Do not judge your progress by what you see. What's real is what you know deep within. Hold to the vision. Stay in the assumption. Trust that the invisible hand is working, even when your eyes see nothing. You are not forgotten. You are not being ignored. You are being led. So when the silence comes, when the evidence disappears, when the wait feels long, do not despair. That is not the end. That is the sacred in-between where creation stirs. And if you can endure the stillness with faith, you will witness the fulfillment with joy. Because the delay is never denial. It is preparation for something greater than you imagined. There is a hidden key to transforming your life, and it is not effort, struggle, or constant action. It is feeling. Emotion is the silent language that speaks to the creative force within you. It is not what you say nor what you think, but what you feel that determines what you manifest. The moment you feel something as real, your inner world aligns with that reality, and the outer world begins to respond. Feeling is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the force that turns a thought into experience. You can repeat affirmations all day long, but if they are spoken from a place of fear or lack, they will produce nothing. Yet one moment of deeply felt certainty, one inner experience of already being, doing, or having the thing you desire, this alone has the power to shift everything. This is why it is not enough to simply imagine. You must feel the scene. You must enter into the state of the wish fulfilled and dwell in it, not as a visitor, but as one who belongs there. When you feel something is already done, you no longer reach for it. You no longer beg or strive. You simply rest in the knowing that it is yours. Most people wait to feel successful until they have achieved something. They wait to feel loved until someone gives them affection. They wait to feel secure until the circumstances change. But the truth is reversed. It is the feeling first that brings the condition. You must feel rich to become rich. You must feel healthy to become healthy. You must feel love to attract love.